Okay.
Hey,
Thank you, Codium.
for those of you who missed the last however long we've been talking, this is the Spark of Madness podcast. I'm Matt. That's Aaron. That's Ben. That's Wesley. We're gonna quickly go through this because we are restarting. But
No, let's just. Now we got the audience.
we're here. We're settled. We got the audio. We're doing Gremlins 2.
I wonder if those four people are like, when it was silent, this is the best one they've done in a while.
Is this like a?
They're like, who are these schmucks?
It's an anti
All right,
podcast.
let's cut to the chase.
So Gremlins 2, we not necessarily Christmas related. And I didn't say this before, but we did Gremlins in our first year of doing this, or
was
so,
it
right?
the first year? I feel like it was just a couple of years ago.
Could have been the second year.
We haven't been doing it that long.
We've been doing it for 4 years.
Okay,
4 years? Wow.
Early-ish on.
This is season 4.
For me,
Wow.
I put it in the Hall of Fame. If you guys
remember
recall,
that.
Oh, yeah, and-
for
and
me,
I said no.
I have very high regard for Gremlins personally.
You love it.
First time watching Gremlins 2, and Ben was telling us a little bit about Joe Dante, which I will let you kind of recap again.
So Gremlins 2 came about, and where they wanted to try, like they wanted to, the studio system. It wasn't quite. Well, first of all,
Gremlins was a surprise hit.
hit, and it's because of Steven Spielberg recognizing and giving the directors creative control. Like he really was like that buffer between the studios.
It's also Chris Columbus's
yeah.
big break.
Yeah, and
as a writer.
and I don't know if we touched about this about the original script, how dark the original Chris Columbus spec script was, and what Joe Dante came from a world of from Roger Corman films. He's one of the proteges that came out of there. With many directors have come out of Roger Corman. You have Francis Ford Coppola, you have James Cameron. You have Martin Scorsese, I believe, and other actors too, like even Jack Nicholson. So they get he started making movie trailers for him, and he begged him to do a film. He said only you can do a film only for this amount of money and do it done in a week. So they did this really. They took clips from other movies that they did and made it in a week and whatever, but it gave him the chance to direct. He got a chance to direct Piranha. He directed the Piranha movie.
Oh, okay.
Which was like 10 years later after Jaws or something like that. And then he did The Howling, and then he did Gremlins.
Got it.
And then the sequel, and the studios didn't like Gremlins the first time, but it became a surprisingly big hit. And his background, this is why I love him. Is from like he grew up loving Roger Corman movies. He grew up loving science fiction movies. He grew up loving Looney Tunes and Mel Blanc.
I couldn't tell from this movie.
Well,
yeah.
In fact,
It's a
I think
real
in
secret.
the first movie, Mel Blanc actually makes a cameo, and Mel Blanc is the famous
Man of a
direct.
Thousand Voices.
Not Mel Blanc. It's Chuck Jones. Excuse me, Chuck Jones. It was Chuck Jones.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry. Mel Blanc's in it. He's the man of a thousand voices of all the cartoons. Chuck Jones, the famous director of Looney Tunes in the second age, the golden age, as you call it. What do you call that age? The one when they made Daffy Duck more attitude driven.
I'd say
instead
that's
of-
golden age.
Yeah, the golden age, like the sweet spot. He also directed The Grinch Stole Christmas too, but he grew up loving, wanted to be an animator in Disney films, and he knew that in horror movies you have to, you have to make them laugh a little bit to escape some of the cheesiness. You know what I mean? So like that recognizing yourself a
It
little
makes
bit.
you forget to have to suspend your disbelief.
Yeah, and I think if we get ahead of the laugh, we can make them laugh. Or adding a little bit of humor in it, it makes it. That's his way. So he adopted the script to make it less scarier. I mean, it's scary.
Gremlins.
The first
You're
one.
talking about the first one.
The first
still.
one,
Yeah.
and he put his thing, but it still had that nice balance. And then the first one, it was a really nice, charming movie. You know what I mean? That still has everything you need in it. It was just like perfect.
That was the movie, and we talked about this. That was the movie that like basically pushed over the edge the need for PG-13 as a separate rating, like between R and G.
Because Jaws was rated PG-13.
PG.
No,
or PG.
Yeah, it was PG.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Still is.
And actually, the movie this is an interesting fact. It was not until Raiders of the Lost Ark that Steven Spielberg proposed the PG-13 because Raiders of the Lost Ark was going to be rated R.
Yeah.
Not Raiders, Temple of Doom. Excuse me.
Yeah, the second one.
My
Yeah.
bad. See, I'm a little off today. I'm getting the
Temple of
facts,
Doom,
but I'm a
underrated.
little reset. Mel Blanc, Chuck Jones. Anyway, so
So Dante Joe was
Dante Joe.
Dante Jones, that wrestler. Anyway, so he had a little bit of Looney Tunes.
It's a pacer, isn't it?
Dante Jones. Yeah, that's right. That's right. That's funny. That's funny. Yeah, he was a pacer. Anyways, but he, and the two moves on. So he had a little bit sweet spot. Then in the sequel, he just went full Looney Tunes.
But you did. So the big thing here, which it sounds like was actually his motivation, was that it was the movie comes across as an FU to a studio. That was true, right? Like
it's not really an FU to the studio. It's FU to commercialism and lunch, like sequels and what we have now.
I would say
like what movies.
I think when I said anti-capitalist earlier, and I think that's erroneous. I think it's more of a comment on empty commercialism. It's not the idea of like you're an artist and you want to make money off of your work. It's about like get rid of all of the things that make it authentic or genuine and just pump out shit.
Is this the best case of subverting our expectations?
You know,
but
it's what the movies are now.
Yeah,
basically.
But
overtake it.
This was 1990.
Yeah,
it was then too, and the 80s was the height of like make it cheaper and sell it for more.
Well, that's true, but also the 70s and the 80s, there was a time, and he even says this, so Joe Dante. I've listened to tons of interviews with him, and I really like him. But he even said, like, you know, young filmmaker coming up today, like, how do we like any advice breaking into the business? Like, you know what, the business is so different right now, and that I couldn't tell you. He just came, like, there was a sweet spot in time that he was lucky enough to be in to really prop up directors. And that's when you got the boom in the 70s. You get Francis Ford Coppola's in this, you know, late 60s with The Godfather. You got, you know, Steven Spielberg with Jaws. You got, you know, George Lucas. Look at all that boom of directors. You know, Scorsese, all those guys. So, and that's because the studio systems were the end of the classic studio system, and they're being bought up by corporations who had no idea how to do any film. And what was awesome about it was they gave the directors more freedom, and these guys all came out at the same time. You know what I mean? And they made all this stuff, but then now it's come back where the corporations, the studio system is now controlling it more, and now it's paying by numbers. And this is what we get: franchise after franchise.
Yeah, and it's for safety. Like
absolutely. It's the same thing. It's the same thing with Broadway. Yeah. Broadway used to do, like, you know, different shows. Why does everybody love Hamilton? Because it's not a movie. It's not a musical about a movie that already existed. But you don't get that a lot.
There's so many.
You don't get any risk.
This is a whole conversation unto itself as to why things are like this. But this is early on a good example of lampooning that, and it's lampooning it almost in a friendly way.
Yeah, and you know what he did? You know,
saying like, look what we've become, not like you're bad guys.
Yeah,
which I like. All of the bad guys in this turn out to be good guys.
Yeah, and you know, exactly. And what's nice about it is he really made sure that they didn't make a Gremlins 3. There's no continuation of the story. And so
Chris Columbus wrote and is directing Gremlins 3. He literally just November 30th put out an update that like Gremlins 3 is on track.
Oh my
gosh!
gosh!
Feel stupid now.
I feel stupid.
It's after the fact, but that's what they're doing with all the movies.
I mean, it's
serious question.
But I think the take is the Red Letter Media take.
Hamilton,
Spamilton the musical.
I think the take is like, have you? I watched last December the Red Letter Media review of Gremlins 3, and they said like it would be really funny if they did.
Trump's Clamp,
President
the president,
Clamp, and that's I think
Clamp's
what
based
doing.
on Trump. So all right, Matt. So let's go in and you talk about the synopsis of the movie for our viewers at home.
I mean,
15 minutes in.
Yeah, I don't have it in front of me, but I'll just say like it's fast forward in time. The kids are grown up and adults living in the
big city.
The big city. It's
the Big Apple.
Gremlins go to New York. Is basically our premise.
Just like everything.
And they all work in this
big city.
like mega skyscraper super corporation that's like.
It's Omnicorp.
It's that thing that comes up in a lot of 80s and 90s stuff.
Well,
I feel
it's basically Ted Turner.
It's Ted Turner.
It's all like Ted Turner back, you know.
TV station.
Yeah, TV station going back and making
they own everything.
Yes, they colorized the Gremlins. We know.
And it's funny that they did the not eminent domain thing, but the like you won't sell your property thing. the opening scene
Mm-hmm.
with the store owner, because that happened to Trump in 1993. 3 years later, he had that issue with he couldn't
Does
get the
life
property from
imitate
the
art,
they like
or is it the other way
foresaw it
around?
rather than
rather than copied it and
copied
used
it,
it as
yeah.
the story. Yeah.
yeah, that had been an issue since like I guess 1979.
So,
that property, but Trump wasn't involved until 3 years later.
So
but
for-
this guy is obviously partially based on Trump. His name's
Yeah.
Daniel Clamp. Like, it's-
So you forgot one thing. The movie opens up with a Chuck Jones directed
Yeah.
cartoon,
Literally Looney
with
Tunes.
Looney Tunes,
Yeah.
a little bit,
With a very
which-
tired Mel Blanc.
yeah, really, yeah.
90 years old or
There was
something.
that as well.
Yeah, Jetsons the movie, Mel Blanc.
It's not the worst.
Anyways, so it opens up that setting the tone that this is not your mama's, this is not your father's Gremlins.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's
more
it's a
mature,
Looney
more
Tunes.
grounded Gremlins.
Well, it was kind of like it didn't tie to the movie at all. It was just Looney Tunes.
Forget
gag.
everything you
Yeah.
do.
Yeah, it actually had a good plot, and they kept to the plot. It's the same plot. It's the exact same
Yeah.
plot of the movie, but they just went
bigger.
crazy with
I
it.
mean, it's a nice
and went
throwback to
creative.
old theaters when they would actually play shorts before things. You know, I miss
Yeah.
that.
There's a lot of. This is probably one of the most meta movies I've ever watched.
it's like pre-Deadpool. Like
Yeah.
level of,
It's so.
See, I don't know if I agree with that
Oh,
that
man.
take of it.
Oh,
I don't know
man.
if I feel like they.
think
I
it's
will
so
get
smart.
on
I was
board.
laughing like
I will get on
crazy
board
with
with the FU. That to me though doesn't mean that.
they're reviewing. They have Leonard Maltin reviewing.
I
Gremlins.
understand that. I know- yeah,
because
they have
Leonard Maltin reviewed it the first time and didn't like it.
Yeah.
They
And
even
they're like,
got him to play
Yeah.
himself,
Yeah.
You play himself.
being a dork.
I
It's a 10, it's a 10, it's a 10.
Yeah,
It's pretty meta.
You look like Leonard Maltin.
I get that. I get those.
Leonard Maltin.
There's like there's like those 3 or 4 scenes that are that. They're
Are you
like
saying Hulk
Hulk
Hogan
Hogan
isn't
and-
meta?
Oh my gosh.
I'm not saying
Those
any,
little gremlins.
I think those pieces are peppered in as like we're referencing ourselves. But the rest of it though,
Batman?
I don't know. Well, there's also.
They
I
rest
really
the-
love.
the flying
I really love
gremlin,
the.
those are references though. They're not
Yeah.
they're not skewering themselves. They're making reference. It's Animaniacs is what they've created.
Yeah. But there's
which
also,
is,
like,
which
when-
is fine, but I
There's-
wouldn't
no,
give
no, no.
it so much.
Oh, it's meta.
no, there's even
Credit.
the part where.
They're making fun of the cable news, like the microwaves.
Picardo. What's his
Oh,
name?
Robert Picardo.
Robert Picardo's in there with in the control room, and they're like, "Wait a second, none of these rules make sense. Like,
Yeah.
what if you're on a plane and you're flying east?
That
you
was
know?
the funniest
Yes, that's
sequence
one
that
of the other
pops out
ones.
of the
Yes.
thing. That was so funny.
I get that's what I understand that it skewered itself, but I wouldn't say that like the overall story.
The story doesn't, but
This-
it's the same story.
It is the exact same story.
Exactly.
of-
That's what we're saying. It's the
story
same
is a
story,
car
but
that
with a
gets you from A
meta
to B.
with a meta self-skewering lens.
I
yeah,
suppose.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Suppose. What do the comments say?
Say audio's good now.
Thank you. All right.
Yeah, I guess I see your point that they are obviously referencing the previous movie,
Oh
but
my God, man! This is the whole Rogue One argument again.
how? No, it's not.
It doesn't make sense when you got it. Is that like?
I'm not saying it doesn't make sense.
It's a 10. It's a 10.
Everything you just said is
It's meta.
is right, but that doesn't mean that I can appreciate.
What is meta to you?
No, just let me finish
Let
my
him
thought.
finish, man.
I can appreciate that it is trying to reference itself and make a comment about itself. That to me hits a level of like, this is amazing as or it can hit a level of like you're trying to say something. To go beyond that as to take this movie as something that's like it's taking down all these other systems and that it's critiquing all these other
No.
kind
No,
of
that's
things.
not what we mean by meta.
No, it's the
I'm not-
pull my finger of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And to me, that hits a limit in terms of how successful the movie lands for me.
Oh,
like,
for you personally.
yeah, like to me, it hits a ceiling in terms of, okay, I get it. Like, I get it. You're referencing okay, I get it. You referenced your previous movie.
Yeah, but it's
And you're-
referencing. I think it's more than just the previous movie. To
Right.
me, it's just like
well, it's
this is-
Family Guying the whole time. It's taking the Gremlins and
A
like,
little better than Family Guy.
we're gonna like throw them into a science mix up, and they're gonna do some silly stuff.
Well,
like that.
so-
that to me is a different type of movie than the
So
previous.
when I saw this movie, especially now that after I listened to Joe Dante, I saw the signature. This is probably the funnest movie he ever made, and this is probably the most Joe Dante like personality. I saw his personality in there, everything he loved, and that's what I loved about it. He even had classic, horror Christopher Lee in it. Different parts. He references so many older movies in it.
Grandpa
He references,
Munster.
and it was just all this like love of everything he loved. Because this is the movie he wanted
But does
to
that make a good? Is that a good movie, or is that
Yes.
just a bunch of references?
Yes.
That's my point.
No, it's a good movie. It's smart.
I get what you're saying, and I get what you're saying.
It's just a
and
bunch
I'm
of
in the middle.
callbacks to stuff.
Oh, it's not a callback. It's not a
no,
callback.
no.
It's his own thing.
No,
But
I
if
get-
what
I get
happens
why
on
you're saying
screen isn't that funny, or that it's like, okay, that's like the old
That's
movie.
subjective,
Funny
though.
is subjective.
I thought it
Right.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
providing my
that.
opinion.
Yeah. No,
I thought it was
don't
hilarious.
think
I
it's-
get what you're saying.
Yeah,
I get
like-
what you're saying, and I get why you say it. I think not to get it. I'm not saying when I say get it, I don't mean get it. I mean for it to land.
Yes.
For it to land, you've got to be thinking of it the way he's intending it, and not the way that you're hoping to receive it. You know what I mean? Like it's a comment
I loved it.
on his entire experience because of Gremlins, because of the first Gremlins, the amount of what it was like working in the studio system after it became this giant corporate machine. It's a commentary
And
on
now you
all
have
of
a
that.
hard
So he's saying
time-
like, I want to say this, and they're forcing me to make a Gremlins movie, so I'm going to say this with the Gremlins movie, and I'm also going to not take it seriously at all.
See, I think you're overstating
No, that's-
the level of his. I'm not going to take this seriously. Because you just argued all these other ways of him making the perfect movie of all the things he loves. If it was him not taking it seriously and making a point, to me, I would almost like make it a just absolute garbage, nonsensical. I'm going to do a bunch of random stuff.
No,
Instead, he
like,
wanted to make. He still has a level of quality he's trying to
exactly,
achieve.
exactly.
But he's
That's-
cartooning it.
Yeah.
On purpose. He
wants to
didn't
do a
go
good job.
full. Yeah, exactly. And he still wants to continue to get jobs. I would say.
No, I think he wanted to make the movie he really wanted to make.
Yeah,
and this was the
well,
movie he really
but I
wanted to
don't
make.
think
If
that-
you get free lanes, yes, it's kind of an FU to the studio,
Yeah.
but it's more like this is what I want to do.
Yeah, it's like a
You know what I mean?
tongue in cheek. It's a
And like-
friendly poke
And
rather
there's-
than a
instead
stab.
of doing because what he's so he made a good comment about this. This is I agree with him. So he also got noticed for doing one short in the Twilight Zone movie that Steven Spielberg produced, and it was the one. I think the one is the most Looney Tunes. It's the one with the girl, the kid with the imagination that can control the house.
Oh,
he
man,
makes
it's so
a
long since I've
Tasmanian
seen that.
he makes a Tasmanian devil noise in it. But he did not like the fact that they were remaking a good episode, so he went back to the source material and made it completely different. And I thought, why remake the same thing? Right? What a remake should be something different. If you're going to remake it, make it different. You know what I mean? Or not.
Live
Don't make
action
it.
is not different enough.
Yeah, and so that's what I love about this movie. It's not the same movie. Yes, it has an underlying storyline, but it's its own thing.
It's almost like a new universe.
See, I don't understand how you could say that, because I feel like 2/3 of the movie is the 10 minutes of Gremlins, the first movie, where they're having kooky stuff in the bar and they go to the movie theater, is just take that and just stretch it out
And that's what I loved about it.
and do it a bunch of different times. Like that to me is that,
I think that's why I loved it so much.
This was some real red meat for Ben, wasn't it?
I
what,
really
so
do love it.
Aaron, where do you fall in I guess not fall into the scale of opinions here, but like, how do you respond to all this stuff?
I respond by saying, I appreciate a director who doesn't want to be.
I did.
How do I phrase this? He's obviously taking it seriously. He obviously spent some time making sure this was good in some sense, but he wanted to have fun with it, and I respect that, because I think far too often movies take themselves very seriously, and when you see that all the time, it gets very tiresome, at least
Yeah.
for me. So it's nice to see something kind of off the wall.
Let me ask you guys something, because when I think of this movie, I think it's in the same category of how I enjoy it as like Kung Pao.
It's
which-
nothing like Kung Pao.
It's not like Kung
It's
Pao,
not
but I
the
get
same,
what you're saying.
but
Yeah.
it's
It
not
is
the same
and
type
it's
of
the
humor.
in the sense that it is the
Airplane.
movie that the director wanted to make. That I would make the comparison.
Well,
I'd say Airplane.
Airplane?
Yeah, more like Airplane in the sense of how you should receive it, because it is saying something, but it's not saying something. He's not doing like a pretentious kind of like, and this is what they're doing to cinema, and it's like, nah, this is like it's a mass marketed movie making fun of mass marketed media. Like it's aware of itself.
And maybe
in
I
that
just
sense.
personally, I think because I didn't think Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 had any like. Maybe that type of message just doesn't really hit me
Resonate
very
with
well.
you?
You
I
didn't like Texas Chainsaw 2?
It's the same for what was that other one we watched that I didn't Starship Troopers. Like I didn't connect
You don't
with
like
that one either.
the social satire, the economic satire stuff.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah.
I don't think it. I don't
Is it-
think these are for those
RoboCop?
instances.
It
They're
doesn't do a whole
I
lot
loved
for me either most
RoboCop
of the
though.
time.
I thought RoboCop did it
God,
successfully.
RoboCop's amazing.
Yeah. To me, the thing I'll just say is I liked the Looney Tunes aspect a lot. But let's just leave it there that it's Looney Tunes. I don't know if I would go so far as to say it's more than Looney Tunes. Like this is Looney Tunes as a movie.
I think it
It's
is,
one of the
and
greatest
it's in
things
the
ever. Thanks
details.
for the compliment.
It's in the details. It's about you have to think of it from a 1990 time too, as to what the world was like then, economically and socially.
I mean, you're getting born at this time.
Yeah.
You're a young
True.
kid.
I was 2.
I was but a wee babe of 2.
I was about,
but,
what was it, 1990? 1992?
1990.
You were 6.
I was 6.
That's fast.
Like a prince.
I lost my train of thought. But no, like
So, you
so,
didn't think about 1990 time?
it's every single the whole movie is bit after bit. But
Yes.
every bit is sort of like Looney Tunes. You know, it's all
Marx
gags.
Brothers and all that stuff.
Yeah,
Yes.
but
it's
it's
kind of strung together.
but they're
beats.
all making fun of something. They're making fun of some concept, like
And showing his love for film, too.
they're doing that, but it's making fun of something commercial. It's making fun
Yeah.
of, and it's funny because I didn't think of this until this is another like I hate referring to him all the time, but like Red Letter Media made comment on the fact that half of the stuff that they made fun of didn't exist and does now exist.
They predicted it a little
Yeah,
bit.
they predict like the idea of all these super specific channels. Like in 1990, you're like, that's never going to happen.
The
But then we
microwave
do
channel.
have that.
Yeah.
The archery channel.
I mean, they might not have picked the right subjects, but they had the idea.
Sure.
Well, they're
No,
trying to be
that's- yeah.
purposefully absurd.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
mean, my
And-
microwave. I
So-
don't think it's
but
that
there
cool.
is an archery
So
channel.
probably why this hit home to me, especially now that I've listened to Joe Dante talk, in interviews. I grew up I'm very lucky to be in my age to grow up on it. Like he grew up in a time where he saw all this these classic horror movies, and I mean you did too, Matt. But I don't know why you didn't hit the same home. But classic horror movies, comedy, all these references that he does. I remember all that stuff as a kid. I think it just hit homes to me that I see what he's trying to do.
That to me is like, again, it's not that the movie is bad. It's that it just hits a limit of like, you have to know the references. You have to know the things that
I
they're
don't
calling out.
I don't think you
necessarily
do.
agree.
I don't think you do. It's
if your
zany.
references are done expertly enough, that you need not know the reference if it's still done.
It's
well.
also its own thing. He doesn't reference it verbatim. He like it's like a nod to the things he loves, and that's the best kind of art. That's what Star Wars is. That's what Harry Potter is. It's not the thing that you love that you like that's instilled in you.
Even beyond that,
You programmed in you. Like when I
Something-
hold on when I make keep that thought.
I
I have it now.
When eventually I make film, all the things that I've been programmed with, the things I love, will be in my movies.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
like
I
Darth
can't-
Vader fighting a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Exactly.
That's on page 1 of the script.
Yeah, right.
The question is whether or not the references are handled well, because it
It's not like did everybody get that? It's just
But I would
it can't be Family Guy. It
I
can't be
disagree
this is like that
with
time
you
Darth
just in the
Vader
sense
fought
of-
the Tyrannosaur.
Yeah. I disagree with you in the sense because not only I think those things are handled brilliantly, but I also just think the script itself handles the story brilliantly.
How?
Like everything that happens in the movie is set up, which I love. Like Gizmo goes Rambo, but
Yeah, 'cause
the
he
opening
watch-
scene is
he's
watching
watching
Rambo.
Rambo.
Yeah.
And like the very beginning of the movie, the paper shredder's delivered. Like the paper shredder goes up to the
Yeah.
office, and then he kills him in the paper shredder. And
It's not
interest-
enough. I need to know the paper shredder's backstory.
Yeah, no, that's not what he's saying. To be fair, but
Even the stupid
They-
electric gremlin you come through at the end of like, oh yeah, I forgot I had him in the on call waiting, and that's what kills the electric. Like,
And he uses
and
them, yeah.
all of the characters, every character has an arc.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting. Like the vampire guy, his whole thing is he wants to be a news anchor, and then he gets to be the one to report. It's
The
all
one-
very
the
interesting.
one-
It's less an
the-
arc, though. It
Yeah,
is
no, but-
just I do the thing that I said.
No, he wants
an
to
arc.
become one,
It's
and
a
he
shallow
gets to become
arc,
it.
but it's an arc.
Yeah,
It's a he
they gave him goals and
They gave
an
him goals and
objective to
inclusive-
reach,
yeah.
and
That
he
is an
reaches
arc,
it.
though. That's
Yes.
an arc.
Still an
That's
arc,
a-
yeah.
that's a character.
He went
Rather
from
than just
not
being
achieving his
grandpa
dream to
monster.
achieving his dream.
And then the other girl who wanted to be higher up, is trying to dates the owner now. Like,
Yeah.
now she's
She
in a
she
position of
achieved
more
her
power.
goal.
She reached her goal.
And I like the subversion, to use the word, but with Clamp and with the whatever his right hand man is, where they're set up to be these corporate bad guys. They're going to be the bad guys we have to defeat. But it turned like at the end, they're both. It's like no, they were just.
They're
It-
there.
the
wouldn't call them
statement
good,
is that
but
like
it's- yeah.
That's where the
we're not
mov-
talking about bad people. We're talking about what happens to good people in a bad system.
Well, and that's where the movie came together, and that's what I wish the whole movie was, is where it ended. Because when it ended, he gives this little speech about like, you know what, this is stupid, and we should think more about small towns, and I'm going to change my. I didn't feel like, I don't know, when you mention like arc and stuff, it just feels like just ridiculous things happened, and it's so zany and ridiculous, and then it gets to the end, and it's like, here's this very heartfelt thing we're talking about, and like everything preceding it.
It's not. It's
Yeah.
not a heartfelt thing. It's like it's a heartfelt thing.
Yeah.
You know,
It's not- and it's not
That's what I love
perfect,
about it. That's
but-
what I love about it.
It's
It's a toe dip in the pool of deepness.
Yeah, it's not trying to be
there are
heartfelt. It's
things
not
happening.
trying to be like
there are things happening on a meta level in this that I like, in the sense that like he uses the Gremlins, like I said earlier, he uses the Gremlins thing to express his feeling about this is what this system does to people. So you have people, that's Gizmo, and this is something from his mouth. To you have people that are Gizmo. In his opinion, people are good. You put people in a bad system, they become what happens when you get Gizmo wet. That this is the worst part of human nature, and our system now appeals to the worst part of human
and
nature.
nobody likes soggy shoes.
Yeah.
So what is water to you?
That's just it was already there.
What a cop out.
Yeah, it was already there. It's
So let's talk about some of
materialism. Say it's
the
materialism.
scenes in it. Let's talk about some of the creative scenes.
Yeah, we've gotten 34 minutes in and nobody's mentioned Hulk Hogan.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what
Or Dean Norris.
Let's talk about the bits, because the bits are hilarious. The bits are hilarious. So first of all, there's a lot of cameos. There's a lot of cameos of famous horror people, like Gomez Adams is in it.
Jerry Goldsmith.
Jerry Goldsmith is in it. Do you know who Jerry Goldsmith is? He's the composer. He composed the first one and the second one,
He
and
did Rudy.
he did Rudy. He did Hoosiers. He did. He's probably one of the.
Who was he in the movie?
He was
the driver.
He was in the snack bar.
He was in the
thing?
snack bar in the white hair. Like so.
But he's the-
so it's like, what's going on here? Like with his wife?
Oh,
Yeah.
that's funny.
That's
Oh,
Jerry
that's
Golds-
only him. I thought he was the guy's driver.
Jerry
No,
Goldsmith.
Jerry-
He's
somebody
my
too.
demo
Yeah,
reel.
he's somebody too. And the janitor who got the water in Gizmo in the first place is Gomez Adams from the Adams Family.
Yeah, John.
And then
John Aston.
and then
John Aston.
and so people have said, so this would have been a fun movie to watch in the movie theater, because the Gremlins broke the fourth wall like crazy.
and
in
nothing
it.
had come out like this.
No, nothing had come out like this. So in the middle of the movie, the film rail breaks. You know what I mean? And
I
people
kinda-
have said that when they watched it, they were like, "What's going on?" You know what I mean? And then so that's totally Gremlins.
I have a
like that's
really
so
soft
good,
spot
it's so
for
genius.
that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It hits me right.
it was so good. And then they're going in, and this big guy is Hulk Hogan. Hey, you Gremlins! Like, rah, 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 rah. So the way
Eat their popcorn.
yeah, and they said the puppets got more advanced because Rick Baker loved it, and he made them all unique. And you know how much work that is? I want all the unique
it's
parts
a
that they
lot.
created. Even the elevator sequence is funny with the arms coming in and stuff. Like this, it was
Oh,
so
yeah.
creative. It's just
Yeah.
so creative. It's a very creative movie, and that's what I love about it.
The lipstick gremlin was Matt's favorite part.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I did have lipstick mark exclamation point
Maybe
in my
that's
note.
why you hate it, because there's lipstick.
Yeah,
And there's
the boils.
vegetable-
The boils
vegetable.
were really gross,
Gross,
in this
yeah.
one.
Don't kiss me,
Really
I'm just a
gross.
doctor.
So you know what I love though, the scene where Clamp comes out of his office because he hears the secretary like get something happened to her, she's gone. Like she's like
dead.
She's either dead or they don't even reference where she is. You know what I mean? Like she's that you know, like I love that crap. You know,
I love it when people die.
I just love this movie. It's just such a zany movie.
My favorite part was actually maybe the most non sequitur in the movie, which was when it's like they're about to like end the movie and like electrocute everybody, and she says something like, "Don't mention Abe Lincoln. Something happened to me on Abe Lincoln's birthday.
Yeah.
We don't have time for that right now." And they don't even. They never bring it up again.
And you watch the first one, you know. So like, I think she's getting all
That was one of the things that when I was watching the Red Letter Media thing, like, wouldn't it be funny if like in the third one, if it's about President Clamp, something bad happens to her at the Lincoln Memorial. I was like, that'd be
and
really
don't you
good.
like the way they like the logo clamp? It's like clamping the world. The world is,
clamp the world.
The world is the world is like bulging.
I'd say that's a little on the nose.
A little
but,
on the nose.
I know that's why I love this, is because it's so on the nose. It's so stupid.
It's like a clown nose.
It's so
on the
tongue in
nose.
cheek. That's why I like it.
Yeah.
Also,
It's unapologetic.
yes,
Yeah.
and I love that. Also, like, you know, when the gremlin that sprouts wings and goes outside, and then the guy's getting attacked again, and all the people in New York getting attacked again, and all the New Yorkers just not caring.
Yeah,
You know,
they didn't care at all.
That's the best. That's the best.
Yeah.
The guy's on the megaphone. All right, look scared.
They said, and I wish I would have watched it, but the Red Letter Media guys said that you should watch this listening to the director's commentary, because it's one of the best director's commentary of a movie ever.
I'm going to institute a red letter media jar for everyone to put change in whenever they enter.
Yeah, please do.
I can't
Please
help it.
do.
They
They're-
made good points about.
They're the best.
They made good points about the sequel.
We're the best.
No.
That is
Do
a good
they
idea.
have
That's a real
4
go-get 'em
viewers?
Yes, they do that and more.
You think Red Letter Media talks about Red Letter Media?
Do you think they talk about Spark
Reminds
and
me of that one
Madness?
thing that we said once.
But no, they
Remember?
do that. No. I lost my train of thought. I will point this out though. I did recognize that the city street that they show at the beginning, the very beginning with the big, it's the exact same street from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Too.
Oh, yeah.
It's the exact same
So-
street where the telephone poles knocking down, like Toka and Razar go destroy.
In the first movie, the city block, the little town, Back to the Future.
Yeah.
Same time as Back
It's
to the
the
Future.
same.
And it was before Back to the Future. To Kill a Mockingbird. A ton of movies. A ton of movies that shot that
But
in that
it's-
town
it's-
square. But it's most famous for Back to the Future because they really exploited it.
But it's it's in the exact same state. It has the fumigation tube. Nothing's changed whatsoever. It's just like they left it.
Yeah.
It's like, that's awesome. That's
Probably had tours and stuff.
You know, here's
I
the-
love this movie.
I
I personally
I-
love this movie.
I do
I saw it
too.
when I was a kid and I didn't remember. When you're like, hey, Gremlins 2, I was like,
I remember seeing it.
I watched it. I was like, I remember this.
I remember seeing it and like being like worried that I was gonna be afraid of it. And this is awesome.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? This is so funny. But
It's so funny.
what's funny is like the big deal that Gizmo's in a cage. Well, he's in a cage at the beginning, shot like he's real great in that you know the old Asian guys, you know, shop, you know.
I just loved it. I loved almost every line. Even like some of the lines are bad, but they're
so funny.
They're bad
If you
on
listen,
purpose.
if you listen to it, they're so funny.
and
It probably didn't tickle your humor.
and I can get that.
There was plenty that I enjoyed about it. It's just like
I was smiling
the
the whole
way
time.
you're like. You're alternating between it's brilliant to it's intentionally bad to it's like all these
Is
different things.
intentionally bad, unable to be brilliant.
That's what
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
it
yeah.
brilliant.
Well, I guess I
It's-
just don't.
it's-
I don't connect those dots when
Yeah.
like there's also scenes that are competent and very good, and then
That's not what I mean by bad.
You know
on
why?
purpose.
Because you're not red pilled.
yeah.
Wait, Matt,
No, but like
You're not red
is
pill,
Kung
Matt.
Pao not brilliant?
no.
Kung Pao's we laughed our asses
Yeah.
off talking about it,
Is
but I'm
it
not going to
brilliant?
say that every single person I know should see it. That is all.
That's what I'm saying. I wouldn't say about
that
this either.
I wouldn't say that either.
Okay,
But-
that's
It's brilliant.
Why are you getting upset?
because I feel like so.
I think
here,
you're upset.
I'm going to just say I would
think
give
you took
this.
his wallet.
If I say
I'm
this to you, I give this a 4 out of 10. I feel like that's instantly like based off of our entire conversation. That's like how could you ever?
No, I get it. I
Have
get it.
that opinion
I
about
get,
the
I
movie.
get it because you just have really bad taste.
It's just like
that it would be good for everyone.
It's not good for
No,
everyone.
it's just only good.
Satire's not good for everyone
Oh, yeah.
either. And I'm
And
not
if you
saying
hate his
satire's
rating,
not
you're
good
not
for
gonna
you.
like mine
I'm
much
saying
better.
if you start from the idea that not all satire is for everybody, because it's not RoboCop's not for everybody.
Well, there's
RoboCop's
that's
for
not
everyone.
that almost
not.
is like. Of course, there are movies that are not for everybody. It gets to the point of would I still recommend it?
Yeah.
This I don't think I would because
That's fine.
I think it's if you are interested in some of the things this movie has to offer, I would point them in other direct. I think you could watch Looney Tunes to hit this
Oh, no.
this scratch this itch. I think you could just watch the first Gremlins to get most of the story and the Gremlin stuff and enjoy like the effects and prosthetics or whatever. I think
Actually, no, because I think the
Some of the
effects and
prosthetics
prosthetics are
way
so much
better in this
superior in
movie.
this movie.
yes, but
I mean,
they're still
if you-
derivative of the first
Yeah.
movie.
I know, but some of the
there's
things-
horror comedy. It's all set up because of the first movie.
True, but if you like this prosthetics and that kind of effects and stuff, some of the advanced things they did,
Yeah.
They
were
did
amazing.
do some
even
cool
like
stuff.
The popping
They
out
did
of the
cool
thing,
stuff.
like
The
even
early
like
shots
some-
of Gizmo walking around, those were
They were
very
good. They were very good.
And
Yeah, they were
him
awesome.
dancing and then making his hand like inflate. I mean, like when he got hurt like a cartoon.
yeah.
I mean, think about some of the practicality of how they got this done.
Yeah.
Also, like some of the cool effects. You know, like when like Red Letter Media talks about this.
That's fine.
But they cut like when the one turns to the spider gremlin. How are we gonna do that? Cut to a shadow of it, and like that's very creative and very cool. You know. So they do a lot of good stuff like that.
he's-
A lot of little filmmaking. That's
I
really
get
good.
your point.
No,
It's
it's a very well-made
Yeah.
movie. I will agree with
I
all
don't
of
think
that.
you have
I
to
don't get- I don't-
justify
the
I don't-
story,
I don't-
your
I
feelings
don't
on
think
it.
you like it hard
No,
enough.
time out. I don't think you need to justify your feelings on it. This is a movie where I would say this is made for a specific type of movie watcher. And
Sure.
I don't think you fall in that.
Yeah, you're
and
not-
I would have said that before we got here. I would have said, I
Yeah,
don't
Matt,
think this
you're
is
not
it.
as sophisticated as that.
That's
Get
Yeah.
back
It's
to us
not-
when you've
That's
taken
it.
the
That's
red
it.
pill.
I'm just kidding.
It's not sophistication's not what I'm saying.
I'm kidding. I'm just jabbing at
It's
you.
not steak versus
Life is a
bologna. It's
sophisticated
strawberry versus banana. It's
Yeah.
a flavor of movie that if
Strawberry.
you
This is
if
banana.
this appeals to you,
Helps your cramps.
it's for you.
Yeah.
You know,
Cramps.
and that's okay.
I don't
And
think Aaron liked it.
I think you liked it.
I think Aaron liked
Yeah,
it a
I think
lot.
he did too.
I think
Prediction.
didn't
But-
he say that in our thread even?
Yeah,
that he
yeah.
liked
I
it?
don't know.
No, he was saying he liked Fat Man. That's
Yeah,
what he
yeah,
was
say
saying.
that a lot.
Which we should do now.
We're doing that next week.
okay.
Next
Yeah.
week.
But,
yeah. We'll get to that. Do we want to rate the movie now?
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, Matt, what do you give
Four-
it?
4 out of 10. There.
4 out of
That's
10.
fine.
Okay. Why don't you boys, you and Wesley, Bent, go next? I want to see what you say.
Good for you.
Listen. It's the same reason why I think Temple of Doom is better than Raiders of the Lost Ark.
I happen to agree with you on that.
So Raiders is technically like put together a better movie, and so is Last Crusade. Gremlins, the first one, is technically a better movie, but put around together, a real complete movie than the second one. But I love the second one more, and I will watch the second one over and over again because I just love it. So with that being said, I'm giving this a 9 out of 10.
9 out
Just
of 10.
with that caveat.
This is one of your most favorite movies, would you say?
It's up there. Because
You have brought it up a lot. I mean,
I'm surprised you
very
didn't
much
actually didn't like it as much as I really am. Caught off guard a little bit, but I
There's
handle
also-
I handle my emotion like a man.
He's
There's-
not going to lose sleep.
There's also an element to they use the Hulk Hogan clip every time at Flick's Brew House, and they cut it with they overdub Hulk Hogan to be like, "Enjoy Flick's Brew House, brother." Like
Yeah.
they do that, and so I maybe was desensitized.
So
to that
I
scene.
guess, and I don't. And so speaking of that, real quick, a little side note before we get to you. I guess in the VHS version, when it came out in VHS, they didn't do a film cut. They did I don't even know if Hulk Hogan was in it. I think they did like a tape malfunction.
Oh, they adapted
They
it.
adapted to the
cool.
camera. So they did that with that. But I give it a 9 out of 10 because I just think it just I was smiling the whole time, and it's everything I love, and I think I really relate to Joe Dante. But go ahead.
So my position on this is I find myself often pulled between you two specifically. Aaron and I never agree on anything.
Never.
Very rarely on movies.
Yeah.
We
Aaron
like
and I
each other. We
overlap
just
pretty
don't like
well.
the same things.
We just like his beanie.
Yeah. He's like Tim Pool. But
Take
I'm
that back.
I'm pulled between you guys on my taste because I like a lot of things you love, and I love a lot of things you love. And I'm again in the middle on this. I think I give this a 6 out of 10.
Malcolm.
But it's I agree with Matt.
6 out of
this
10.
It's not a great movie.
No.
But it's great at what it's doing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is a spiritual sequel to the first one. It's in the same vein, but
It's
it's
its own
saying
movie.
something different. It's saying like, what if we do the exact same thing, but it's saying something completely different. It's saying the opposite.
Unlike Matt, I recommend this to anybody.
I don't recommend it to anybody. I recommend
And people who
recommend
love
it to somebody
horror.
who likes this type of thing. If
Who
you
likes
like,
horror movies, who loves all that, like who loves like cinema, who loves
Zany.
movies, who loves
Yeah.
movies.
Yeah,
if you
yeah,
love
yeah.
movies, if you love movies, like a
if you like pop
cinephile,
culture, if you like,
if you're a cinephile, like even
Yeah.
like classic movies,
if you like
watch this.
Animaniacs,
Yeah,
watch this.
Right. I agree.
yeah.
I agree
Yeah.
with you. I just have. I don't know if that's a. I don't know. We're just different. The way we're rating it is different.
Yeah,
That's all.
I'm just saying it's for a specific crowd. Not everybody
Sure.
likes Animaniacs. You know, like
That's true.
I actually
Some-
don't care for them that much.
he's a Tiny Toons man.
Yeah,
No, I hate them so much. Don't even get me started.
it's
Right,
a Beavis
Tiny?
and Butthead, man.
They're better, but not my favorite.
He's
All
Ren
right,
and Stimpy.
Aaron, bring us home.
Bring us home, bring us home.
I struggled with this movie, okay? Because there were lots of things that I liked, and ultimately, this movie is another case of Spider-Man 3 to me.
Oh, boo! No, it's nothing.
I'm
like
going to
that.
mute you now. Spider-Man 3 was kind of a...
I think you,
I think you
did it
muted
all.
yourself.
You muted yourself.
Yeah, you did.
That's what you get. That's what you get. You little
That's hilarious.
Now Ben's muted. I'm good at my job.
Hey, you.
Spider-Man 3 is a guy making the movie. I don't know about that one being the one he wanted to make, but it was kind of a finger to the studio, and it was kooky, and it was self-referential in places,
I hate
and I ultimately liked it. I watch Spider-Man 3 at least once every year or two. I have a soft spot for it. And I would give Spider-Man 3 a 4 out of 10.
Oh man.
Now, Gremlins 2...
Oh boy.
I would give a 5 out of 10 because I would recommend that everyone see it. I don't think everyone's going to like it, but I think it should be a movie everyone sees
Agree.
at least once. And I hadn't seen it until this time, I think. I don't remember watching it when I was younger. I'd only seen the first. But I ended up liking it for being kooky, off the wall, unafraid to do stupid things, making all those references to things in a smart way, not just a Family Guy way.
Yeah, not with the manatees.
It's a good
Manatees.
movie, but not a great movie. Great at what it does, though.
So, what I like about Joe Dante, and I listened to an interview of him, and he was talking about like now you get like when he was a kid, he couldn't get access to movies, certain movies. You know, when it came on, you had to watch it then. You know what I mean, or you never see it again. And sometimes they didn't have them. But since now these movies are all available that you can watch. You know what I mean? The problem is no one's going to watch them unless someone curates them and shows you, like, you know, Turner Classic Movies used to be, which was awesome. But that's not the case anymore. And so, you know, I think he has a website where he recommends certain movies. You know what I mean? Which is great because it can sift through a lot of different stuff. But he recommends this movie, and I think we need to start doing that more. But I'm not. But what he talked about before I came here, I recorded a bit with him of him talking about what he loves about the movies with this guy on a thing, and it really plays home to what we're doing here. And I really think, you know, this is why I think our podcast is necessary.
And the interesting thing is that there are more movies available to see today than ever in my lifetime. Movies from the
Put the
early
speaker
30s
toward
that
the cone
haven't
with the
been
mic.
seen in 70 years are now finally coming back, and you can see them on video. The problem I found was that nobody knows who these actors are anymore. Nobody relates to the period because it's so distant from them. Right. I mean, certainly
That's
it's
worse.
silent movies were to me when I was a kid. Yeah. That you needed a sort of a way of looking at them, which is why
That's better.
You turned your mic up.
All right. This is fun. Let's do that again.
Yeah.
that there are more movies available to see.
There you go.
Right, than ever in my lifetime. Movies from the early 30s that haven't been seen in 70 years
We have guests
are now
on.
finally coming back, and you can see them on video. The The problem I found was that nobody knows who these actors are anymore. Nobody relates to the period because it's so distant from them.
Right.
I mean, certainly as distant as silent movies were to me when I was a kid.
Yeah.
That you needed a sort of a way of looking at them, which is why there were film courses, film school courses, where you would run a film and you'd analyze it and the kid talk about it.
Right.
And I miss that. I miss going to the movies and coming home and having a drink and arguing about it.
Sure.
Or, fighting with people about this movie and that movie.
Right.
I like this. And I think movies have become so throwaway now that people don't do that. They don't really, they see a movie, it washes over them. By the time they put their car keys in the car, they've forgotten what they saw.
Right. They don't challenge me.
So yeah, I mean, it was a long. I forgot how long the clip was. Sorry, audience.
No, I think it should have been longer.
But fighting over it, what we're doing right now, I think that's that's what we need to do more.
We need to butt heads.
We need to fight.
Who you calling butthead?
Anyways, all right.
I could not agree more with what he said about going to see challenging movies that are not. I mean,
what's so challenging about Avengers?
Well,
it's challenging for me to like
I
it.
was going to bring up a different
Getting through it
thing.
without having to pee.
Like, there's a movie. There's so many advantages to movies that are streaming. You have access quickly to versus hoping that your theater plays like this small run thing or whatever. But
Shaun of the Dead.
there's lots of like these. You can find the hidden gems because they're right in front of you. You can usually track them down or rent it really easily. The problem is that if you have like these other kind of more primary services and the way they curate for you and the content they're willing to buy, it is so algorithmically like
You'll never go out.
justify.
You'll never go out.
Like I heard that like Emily in Paris or whatever is part of this, like whether it was somebody's interpretation, but I also believe it could be a legitimate strategy of like creating movies that are intended to be just in the background while you do other things. The fact that could be like,
Pardon me while I die.
a buying, like I understand that maybe people enjoy that, and maybe there's a reason to have something like that. But to your point
let's
of like
feed into destroying
it's not-
culture.
it's not challenging anybody.
yeah, and also what's interesting now is like and now with COVID, and now that Warner Brothers, I think it was Warner Brothers today, it said that they're going to release their movies on
Everything's
HBO Max
streaming,
at the same time, which is interesting. The communal experience of watching a movie might be gone. And that's
Or
one of
it'll
the
just
so sad.
It's just changed, but that's the most wonderful part about movies is going to, like he talks about the Marx Brothers. And my dad even reminded me of this. My dad used to go see Marx Brothers movies in reruns at the Hyper Building or wherever in Bloomington, because he lived in Bloomington at the time. And it was a whole experience. Everybody's laughing. It's like a midnight show crowd. And you'll lose that. You'll lose that communal experience.
I mean, the biggest scene in this movie is that the film's reel went out. What are we going to do? Like look around. Like that will never happen in an age. We'll never have an experience similar to that in an age when it's like
paint by numbers, and you have the big
it's just
studio
I
closures.
can pause at any time.
Yeah.
I can do whatever I want. Like everyone now assumes that you can control. Even literally the story of the movie of like, if I complain enough to this person, they're going
Black
to...
Mirror.
Yeah, I mean...
If I complain enough, they'll redesign the blue hedgehog.
There's literally exactly. That's what I'm saying is people have this assumption that they can control what they're receiving when it... As much... We completely disagreed about this movie, but I can appreciate that it exists for sure. I mean, it's a 4 out of 10. It has a ton of value, and there's so much to like about it. And I appreciate that it did so many things that I wasn't expecting. Like, even if I ultimately didn't like it as much as some other people would. This type of... You're totally right, though, that this type of movie it doesn't happen.
It won't
It
maybe.
deserves
doesn't happen
to
anymore.
exist.
Yeah.
Because now it's all tentpole movies. Now it's all these
Well,
tentpole...
not necessarily,
No,
though.
it is. I mean,
those
so-
are just the movies that are
in the cinema.
above...
Yes, that's what I'm saying.
sure.
No, there's not going to be the same
the theater, yeah.
in the theaters. Not going to be all these tentpole movies.
Sure.
You'll get some here and there. Also, you may not get people to watch your movie. Like now, it's easier to make a movie, but now, who's going to watch it? Back then, you had the drive-ins, for the Roger Corman movies that you could play and people watch that. So there was more outlets to do it. So it's an interesting game, and it's constantly evolving. But the communal experience is totally different, and it's the same stuff. Unless it's a franchise, unless it's going to make us a lot of money, we're never going to see anything really good in the theater.
this is when I was saying earlier at the very beginning that could spawn a whole nother conversation. I think this is where I thought it would go about why is this like this, and it has very little to do with the things we're talking about. Those are symptoms of the problem.
Well, it goes beyond movies.
Yeah, it does.
It goes
But
even pop culture music.
Well, yes,
too.
it does, but it has to do with the bloated structures that are associated with making these things, and that's why somebody like Roger Corman is important. Was
Are
because
you talking about middlemen?
middlemen? No, I'm not talking about middlemen.
I'm talking about bureaucratic stuff.
Yes,
That's
Talking about-
middlemen.
well, sort of. It's also just the tangent and satellite industries that come off of these things that become just part of it, to where you can no longer just create something artistic and market it. It has to support all of the
You got to grease the right palms.
exactly, and just the small things like why going to a basketball game is no longer just about a basketball game. It's how many
kiss
there's
cams.
4 Hardys, there's an Arby's, there's a office for a timeshare, and all of those things are involved in making that arena affordable for the basketball team. So
Which
nothing
is
is pure.
Clamps Industries.
Right. It's all of these things in concert that are creating an impossibility for an industry to thrive because we've locked them all together, and that's what's going to change. And this is going to go away. Like the theaters are going to go away, but I don't think the shared movie experience is going to go away. It's going to turn into something else.
Well, maybe the cineplexes will go away, and maybe you'll still have smaller theaters that are really nice that you can kind
I
of
think
like
you will.
kind
I
of like
think
art theaters.
It's going to turn
that
into
you'll
where
get-
the business is you are going to a theater, you're licensing a movie to see it, or it's an event.
Yeah,
And it's no longer-
I think that's probably it.
It's going to, just like everything
Almost
else,
like
it's
a
going to become
musical.
a niche thing. It's going
Yeah.
to be like, yo, you're a movie person? There's a movie theater here. You can, it is subscribed to Warner Media. And it's like, what movie by Warner do you want to see that day? How many people are going to go? It's
Yeah.
going to be a
That's what they're doing
crowdsourced
now.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's going to evolve. It's not going away. It's just going to change. And it's because
maybe
the
to-
reason it's a whimper and a fight is because of how many people are making money off of a movie theater, even though movie theaters aren't making any money.
This got really deep.
Well, I mean,
But that's what this is about.
But that's
That's what the movie's
what
about.
the movie's about. Like that's what if you listen. I mean, especially Joe Dante talks about it. You can see it transcribed of how he feels about things. And maybe this COVID is a good thing, and maybe we'll get these tent poles gone. Maybe
Don't count on it.
well, if there's no Cineplex, there'll be no tent poles.
You're right. Excellent argumentation.
I mean, seriously, like
The corporation
it's like, why do I
always
need to
finds
make,
a way
why
to
do I
make
need to
more
make this
money.
big thing? We can make a bunch of Mandalorian, shorts with
That's
some
still
money.
tentpole.
It is, but it's not nearly as much money.
Yeah.
It's still a lot of money.
Right. That's the point.
It's
like
still lowest common
The
denominator.
reason movies cost so much is not because movies cost a lot to produce. It's because of how many people must get paid from them.
Yeah.
That's why they cost so much. It's like, okay, here's
they
our
screw
budget
the
for the
visual effects
movie.
people.
This much of it is going to just make sure the right people are paid. And then this is how much we use to make the movie. And that's what The Mandalorian is skipping. It's saying we don't need any of that. We've got a big circle that we shoot the movie or shoot the show in. And
It works.
and it works. And so they're making a movie every week, essentially, and they're cutting out a lot of
The set.
yes.
Because it's all projected,
I thought we were bashing green screen movies.
This
This
isn't
isn't a green
This
screen.
is a green screen. This is they use
It's a comparison.
It's
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 true.
better than green
It's
screen.
still a
so-
simulated set,
So
It is.
but
not
it's
all
good
of it.
now.
Not all of it's simulated.
Well,
it's just
so
the
let's-
extensions
let's,
are
let's
simulated.
talk about it. It's no different than a Stanley Kubrick projection, a rear like a front projection, a rear
Orson
projection.
Welles.
And that's basically what it is now. And you're still
And
it's-
that's not the whole movie.
But this
No, it's
isn't
a
the whole movie.
story.
They shoot some of it's on sets.
Oh, you'll
and
make
some
the
of it's-
excuse for Star Wars. Okay,
No,
No,
I
no,
get
we're
it.
saying no. If you watch
If the
it,
whole
it's-
thing is simulated sets, I
It's
don't want
not
any
the
part
whole
of it.
thing is simulated sets.
not the whole thing.
The extensions are simulated.
extension and you can photograph it, and it really the performances are better because they're working on something, and you light it to what the lighting is. It doesn't look. It's very convincing that they're not on a green screen.
I will
for the
never
last one.
accept it over a real set. Never.
Oh yeah, of course the real set's gonna be more.
Depending
but
on what the real set is. If it's
Yeah.
a desert, it looks fine. You're not going to
I want the sand.
Yeah.
I love sand.
Anyway, let's
It's not at all coarse.
Let's see if we can somehow work in Star Wars, the end of the movie industry,
The environment.
and the environment with next week's show.
nobody cares.
It has none
which
of those
is gonna be
things.
And
the-
Juilliard.
It can be Fat Man.
Next week is Fat Man, the only movie I've looked forward to for the past year.
I can't wait
been
to
a
watch
while.
it.
What other movies were there this year?
Mel
Skinny Man.
Gibson is Santa Claus.
Second Mel Gibson in a short period of time. I'm
Well,
looking
it's
forward
not
to it.
really. He didn't write or direct. He's just in it.
Okay.
I forget who actually directed it. I think it was two people.
I thought you were going
remember-
to say Tupac.
I think he's dead.
Came out of.
He came out of
This was
retirement.
his return.
All right, I think we should wrap it up.
Yeah. All right.
Thanks, boss.
Until next
I got to
time.
take a big crap.